This is the first and last recording for the 12th day of April, and I had one trade with HTCR, and that was it. It did not work out, at least when I entered, but it did play out. This was a morning panic bounce play setup, and as you can see here, I was just down 51 pennies. I bought at 9.35. That was 50 shares at 147, and why? It looked like a morning panic bounce play, even though the stock was like up on good news. I think it was downtrending and selling off pretty aggressively, and I think it was still not past the downtrending trend line, although it does look like it with the way I drew it here. It just looked like it was going to maybe try to hold around the fact that it broke under the round number of 150, but then it downtrended, and then it looked like it was trying to just hold itself even though it just broke under it a little, and then regain itself and make a move, ideally towards VWAP. And the issue was is that when I bought at 147 at 935, I think the bottom was like 146 or 145. I think maybe 146. So when it was looking like it was going to break the day low, I got out at 146, and it did get lower. It got as low as 144, but it did actually find a bottom there. So what happened was is that I tried to nail the bottom, and I was just off by a few pennies, and it did bounce, and it got as high as 159, but that wasn't really the goal, although it did uptrend. Wow, actually an 8% move. Okay, so maybe I was just thinking too big. It never got to VWAP, which was 180. And that would have been, I guess, a little too massive, or at least super profitable. Yeah, 22% move. I can't believe that. Maybe, wow, it just makes me wish I did enter again when it looked like it was trying to turn around. And then, once it was starting to work, I wasn't trying to get in at like 152. It was right here or never. And it did eventually fail. And as you can see, it did continue to just trade back and forth, and I believe that was the most of it in terms of this stock, and there was nothing else that I was really interested in. But this one did uptrend more over a longer period of time, which was nice. A little iffy here, but it looked like a dip under VWAP, or at least a dip towards VWAP, and then like an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder head, and then maybe a shoulder here, or even the shoulder right here. It did offer a few moves there. Would have liked to have maybe considered trading something like this. I just didn't see it when it was making all of those moves. And yeah, this one sold off. This one did try to turn around. I just didn't like the way it was trading when I was looking at it. But I do like how it also seems like an inverse head and shoulders later in the day, probably when I wasn't looking at it anymore. And I was also looking at yeah, this one right here, and at least I did try. I just didn't get the very bottom right here. And that was pretty much it. I mean, there were some good movers out there. I just wasn't looking at all of them. I did get out pretty early in the morning. And yeah, that's it for today. Hopefully I can do better perhaps tomorrow. But I do like that the setup worked. I was just off by a few pennies from the turnaround that it made right there, which with HTCR.